She left the courthouse with trembling hands, still wearing her wedding ring. Samantha didn't remember driving home. The world outside her windshield was a blur. The fog wasn't just on the road. It was inside her chest. She was no longer someone's wife. After 11 years, it was over. The judge's words still echoed. Divorce granted. How did they get here? They used to dance in the kitchen, laugh in bed, plan weekend hikes through the Appalachian trails. Now they couldn't even look each other in the eye. It wasn't betrayal. It wasn't some awful secret. It was the slow erosion of everything beautiful. A silence that grew like mold between them. A love lost not in drama, but in distance. William, once her best friend, had become a stranger. Across the dinner table, she asked him once, "Do you still love me?" He said nothing. That silence answered everything. So she left. Or maybe they both did. Emotionally, they had left long ago. But the pain stayed. That house in Charleston, West Virginia, it used to smell like cinnamon and Sunday coffee. Now it felt colder than the winter wind howling through the holler. Every corner, whispered memories she didn't want to face. She tried to move on. New routines, new pillows, new silence. But nothing filled the space where William used to be. He, too, was haunted. Not by ghosts, but by moments. The way Samantha used to call his name when she was excited. How she rested her head on his chest like she belonged there. She did belong there. But he never told her that. Not in time. He thought time would heal it. She thought love alone wasn't enough. They were both wrong. Months passed. Seasons changed. But the ache remained. People said, "You'll meet someone new. You deserve happiness." But how do you find light again when you were once the whole sun to someone? Then came a letter, handwritten, no sender on the envelope. But Samantha recognized the slanted cursive immediately. William's handwriting. "I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I just know I miss the way your hand fit inside mine. I miss the way you say good morning like it matters. I miss you. If you don't feel the same, throw this away. I'll understand." She didn't throw it away. She read it, then reread it, then held it against her chest and cried for the first time in weeks. Not just tears of pain, but longing, hope. Could love return? Could something broken become beautiful again? She didn't know, but she got in her car and drove to the trail where they had first kissed, where the mist rolled over the mountain like a blanket, and he had whispered, "I think you're my forever." He was there, waiting. No words, just open arms. And in that moment, divorce didn't matter. Time didn't matter. They stood there for a long time. Silent. Still. The wind moved around them, brushing her hair across her cheek. He reached out and tucked it behind her ear, just like he used to. It wasn't a grand reunion. No passionate kiss. No dramatic apology. Just two people who had loved, lost, and maybe weren't ready to give up. They walked, not far, the same path they'd taken 100 times before. But this time, each step carried something new. Or maybe something very old, returning. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. The air smelled of pine and earth. And when they reached the clearing, Samantha sat on the same old bench beneath the birch tree. William stayed standing, hands in his jacket pockets. The clouds moved slowly above them, thick and heavy, but not yet raining. Finally she spoke. "Why now, William?" His voice cracked. "Because I couldn't keep pretending I was fine." She looked at him. He looked tired. Older, somehow, but also softer. Every time I turned on the radio, I heard your favorite songs. I saw your book in my drawer. The blue mug you used every morning, I still haven't touched it. I thought I was doing the right thing, letting you go." He sat beside her. "I wasn't," he whispered. Samantha exhaled, her breath visible in the cool air. "I used to lie in bed at night and picture you in the next room," she said. "I couldn't stop imagining a different version of us. One where we tried harder, one where we stayed." He looked at her hands, still bare. No ring. But the faint line was still there. Skin that had held love for so long doesn't forget. "I want to try," he said, not to go back, but to move forward. She closed her eyes. Let the moment sink in. West Virginia wasn't just their home. It was their story. Every mountain, every trail, every diner where they had Sunday breakfast. It all held pieces of them. And maybe those pieces weren't too far gone to put back together. Rebuilding isn't like falling in love. It's slower, harder, more fragile. Samantha and William began spending time together. Short walks. Coffee at the place they used to go. Conversations that were careful at first, then deeper. But healing isn't linear. One night, at the edge of December, it all nearly crumbled again. They had dinner at Samantha's place, the one-bedroom apartment she moved into after the divorce. He brought her favorite wine. She made the old pasta recipe he loved. They were laughing, the kind of laugh that made your stomach hurt. But then, one wrong word. William made a comment. Something small. A joke about how she used to always be so dramatic. It hit her like a slap. Her face changed. She stood up, started clearing the plates, faster than necessary. He noticed. "Samantha, come on. I didn't mean it like that." But the air had shifted. She turned to him, tears in her eyes. "You always say that. I didn't mean it. But you did. You do. That's how you see me. Too emotional. Too much." William stood now too. "That's not what I meant, you know that. But it's what you said." The silence returned. Not the peaceful kind, the cold kind. For a moment, they weren't rebuilding. They were right back in the wreckage. She sat back down slowly. "This is why we didn't work," she whispered. "We love each other, but we keep hurting each other." He knelt in front of her. "No, this is why we have to work. Because we love each other. And this time, we're aware of the damage. We see it. That means we can do better." She didn't speak. He continued. "Pain isn't proof we're wrong for each other. It's proof that we still care." Her eyes filled again. But this time, the tears didn't fall from anger. They fell from hope and fear, because loving again meant risking everything again. But maybe that's what love demands. Not perfection, but the willingness to try again. The days grew shorter. Snow began to dust the mountain roads. It was the kind of winter that made you stay in and reflect. Samantha and William found a rhythm, not perfect, but real. They met twice a week, Tuesdays for coffee, Saturdays for long drives with no destination. There was something about sitting side by side in a car that made it easier to talk. Maybe it was the forward motion. Maybe it was the safety of not looking directly at each other when the words got heavy. One Saturday, they drove past their old house. The porch light was off. The yard looked overgrown. It had been empty since she left. "I thought someone would have bought it by now," Samantha murmured. William didn't answer right away. Then he said quietly, "It's still ours." She turned. "What do you mean?" "I never listed it. Couldn't bring myself to. I kept thinking, maybe one day." He didn't finish, but he didn't have to. That night, She asked herself something that had scared her for months. Did she still want the same life? Or just the same man? They weren't the same people who married at 26. Life had changed them. Pain had reshaped them. But maybe that wasn't a bad thing. One of Samantha's old friends, Rachel, called out of the blue. She'd heard rumors. "You're what? Seeing him again? Sam, come on, after everything?" "I'm not asking for your approval," Samantha said gently. Rachel sighed. "Just be careful. People don't change that much." That sentence stayed with her. All night. Do people change? Or do they just show more of who they really are? The next morning, she got a text from William. "Come outside." She opened the door. He stood there, in the snow, holding 2 paper cups of coffee. He didn't say anything. Just smiled. A quiet, nervous smile. She smiled back. And for the first time in weeks, she didn't feel afraid. February arrived with a storm. The power went out across Charleston. Ice covered everything like glass. Roads closed. People stayed inside. William texted her. "Do you have heat?" She didn't. Not enough. 15 minutes later, headlights flashed outside her window. He was there. Again. She let him in. Grateful. Freezing. They lit candles. Wrapped themselves in old blankets. The small apartment felt softer in the candlelight. Almost like a memory. Samantha looked at him. "I keep waiting for this to fall apart again." He looked back. "Me too." They both laughed. The storm outside raged. Inside it was calm. Then quietly she said, "I'm scared I'll hurt you again." William didn't hesitate. "You might. I might hurt you too. But I'd rather risk the pain than live another year pretending I don't love you." Her breath caught, not because of the words, but because of the certainty in them. They sat there, close, his arm around her, her head against his chest. The candlelight flickered, and for a moment, the storm outside didn't matter. They didn't talk about the divorce. They didn't talk about moving back in. They didn't make promises. They just were. 2 people who had chosen each other once, lost each other, and now were choosing again. Not blindly, not easily, but bravely. Because love isn't just the beginning. Sometimes it's the choice you keep making, even after everything. Especially after everything. Winter turned to spring. Soft, quiet at first. The kind of change you don't notice, until one morning you step outside and smell the air, and realize the world is thawing. So were they. Samantha stood in front of the mirror one morning and didn't see a broken woman anymore. She saw someone rebuilding, someone softer, but stronger. She didn't cry as much. Not because it didn't hurt, but because healing had slowly started replacing sorrow. And William? He changed too. Not in big, dramatic ways. In the little things. He listened more. Interrupted less. Started asking questions he never used to ask, like, "How did that make you feel?" Not out of obligation, but because he genuinely wanted to know. They took things slowly, a choice. No rushing. No pretending everything was fixed. But it wasn't always smooth. One night, Samantha saw an old photo in a drawer, from the year before they separated. They were smiling, holding hands. But she remembered. That was the night of one of their worst fights. How strange, she thought, to capture joy in a moment that had felt like pain. Later that evening, she showed the photo to William. "We looked happy," she said. He nodded. "We were trying to be." They sat on the floor that night, surrounded by memories, old pictures, letters, even the first note he'd ever written, her, scribbled on a napkin, back when they worked in the same coffee shop in college. They laughed. They cried. Then Samantha said something that shifted everything. "I think I was afraid of becoming invisible." William turned to her. "What do you mean?" "I felt like you stopped seeing me, like I was fading right in front of you." He didn't respond with defense or excuses. He just looked at her, really looked. "I did," he said. "And I'll regret that forever." She exhaled. Tears welled, not from pain this time, but from being seen. It was the moment she stopped doubting his intentions and started trusting his heart again. By June, something had shifted. Their connection wasn't just restored, it had deepened. There was a quiet confidence now. They still had disagreements, still had moments of tension. But the difference? They didn't run from it anymore. They stayed, talked, listened. One morning, Samantha was brushing her hair when she saw it, the faint tan line where her wedding ring used to be. Still there, still marking her skin. And she asked herself, not for the first time, "Am I ready to wear it again?" Later that week, they returned to the house, the one William had never sold. It smelled like dust and time, but also like memory. They walked through the empty rooms. Here was where they used to slow dance after dinner. There was where their dog, Max, used to sleep by the fireplace. And upstairs, the room that had once been their refuge, then their prison. William opened the kitchen cabinet. The blue mug was still there. He turned to her. "We could sell it," he said softly. "Start fresh somewhere new." She looked around. "No," she replied. "This is our story. I don't want to erase it. I want to rewrite it." That night they stood on the porch, the sun dipping behind the hills. "I want to come home," she whispered. William didn't say anything at first. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, delicate, shining. Not the old ring, a new one. Simple, elegant, uncomplicated, like the new love they were building. He didn't kneel, didn't give a speech. He just held it out. "I want to build the rest of my life with you. No noise, no pretending, just us. Every day, starting now." She looked at the ring, then at him, and smiled. "I do. Not again. Not as a redo, but as a rebirth. Not the same people, not the same love. Something deeper, something earned, something forever." The house in West Virginia is warm again. Laughter fills the kitchen. Coffee brews each morning in the blue mug. The porch light is always on now because someone's always coming home. They still argue sometimes. They still get tired. But they hold hands through the hard parts. And they talk. Really talk. Max is gone, but there's a new dog now, named Hope. And sometimes when the mountain breeze drifts through the open windows, Samantha closes her eyes and smiles. Because the story didn't end with heartbreak. It began again with courage. And this time, they chose each other with their eyes wide open. And if this story moved you or even made you think, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone. And this story is a work of fiction. All characters, names, and situations are entirely made up and are not based on real individuals. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental.